Captain stared at the debris field through the viewport of his cargo ship. Broken metal pieces floated in the darkness of space, spinning slowly like leaves in water. Some pieces were small, others were as big as houses. All of them were parts of ships that had fought here recently. "Should we go around?" asked from her station. She was the navigator, responsible for plotting their course through space. Her fingers moved across the screen, calculating a new path. "How much time would that add?" asked. 6 hours, maybe 7, replied. She pushed her dark hair behind her ear and frowned at the numbers. "The debris field is wide. Going through it would be faster, but regulations say we should avoid battle sites." Nodded slowly. The Wandering Star was not a military vessel. It was a simple cargo ship, carrying supplies to colonies on the edge of known space. Humans had only joined the galactic community 20 years ago. Most alien species still saw them as newcomers, weak and inexperienced. "We go through," decided. "Slowly, keep the shields up." Looked up from the engineering console. He was younger than the others, with quick hands and a practical mind. "If we hit anything big, those shields won't help much," he warned. "Then we don't hit anything big," said with a slight smile. The Wandering Star moved forward into the debris field. Pieces of metal drifted past the ship. Some had strange writing on them, alien languages that didn't recognize. Others showed burn marks and blast damage. Whatever battle had happened here, it had been violent. Guided them through the field with careful precision. Left, then right, then down. The ship twisted and turned between the floating wreckage. Minutes passed in tense silence. Then the console beeped. "I'm picking up a signal," said, her voice surprised. "It's faint, a distress beacon." Leaned forward. "From where?" "Bearing 270, distance about 500 meters, zoomed in on her screen. "It's coming from a survival pod, I think." Shook his head immediately. "We can't stop here, Captain. Regulations say." "I know what the regulations say," interrupted. He studied the screen, thinking. Someone was out there, possibly alive, possibly dying. "Can you identify the species?" Worked her console for a moment. "The pod design is." The word hung in the air like a stone. Everyone in the galaxy knew about They were warriors, feared across hundreds of star systems. Their ships were powerful, their soldiers unstoppable. Humans had learned to stay out of their way. "We should leave," said firmly. "They don't like other species interfering in their business. If we take one of theirs, there could be consequences." Stared at the screen. The signal kept beeping, steady and desperate. "Move us closer," he said quietly. Captain started. "Closer." The ship moved forward. Through the viewport they could see it now, a small pod, dark blue and silver, tumbling slowly among the debris. One side was damaged, showing a crack along the hull. "Life signs?" asked. Scanned carefully. "Yes, one weak but present. The signature is small, very small." "How small?" "Child-sized," said, her voice softening. "It's a cub, a young one." The 3 crew members looked at each other. A child changed things. Even if it was a child, even if helping could cause problems, it was still a child. "Bring it into the cargo bay," ordered. "Get the medical kit ready." "This is a bad idea," muttered, but he was already moving toward the cargo bay. Despite his words, his face showed concern. "Use the ship's magnetic to pull the pod close." The metal claw grabbed it gently and drew it into the cargo bay. When the bay doors sealed and pressure returned, was already there wearing protective suits. The pod's door was jammed. Used a plasma cutter to open it carefully. The metal peeled back with a hiss of escaping air. Inside, curled in a ball, was a small creature covered in silver-gray fur. It looked almost like a cat, but larger, about the size of a 6-year-old human child. Its eyes were closed. Blood matted the fur on one side of its body. Small claws on its paws were retracted. Its chest moved up and down with shallow breaths. "It's alive," whispered. He reached in slowly and lifted the cub out. It was lighter than he expected, its body limp in his arms. "Get it to the med bay, now." They carried the cub through the ship, had prepared one of the medical beds, adapting it for the creature's size. They laid it down carefully, attached monitoring devices while ran her scanner over its body. 3 broken ribs, reported. Internal bleeding but not severe. Dehydration. Looks like it's been in that pod for at least 2 days. "Can we treat it?" asked. "I think so. The biology isn't that different from ours in basic ways. I can seal the internal wounds and set the ribs, but Captain," looked worried, "I'm also detecting something else. The cub is emitting a telepathic signal, very low level but constant." "What kind of signal?" "Distress, fear. It's a psychic call for help. If any ships are nearby, they'll be able to sense it. They'll come looking." Crossed his arms. "So we have a cub that's basically broadcasting our location to every in range. Great. This gets better and better." Didn't answer. He was looking at the cub, watching its small chest rise and fall. One of its paws twitched in sleep or pain. It looked so vulnerable lying there, injured and alone. "We should put it back," said, his voice not unkind but practical. "Before anyone detects it. Before we get in trouble we can't handle. I'm sorry, Captain, but that's the smart choice here." Reached out and gently touched the cub's uninjured side. The fur was soft, warm. "Start treatment," he said to Captain. "Start treatment," repeated, his voice firm. "This is a child, a hurt child. I don't care what species it is. We don't abandon hurt children." Looked like he wanted to argue more, but he stayed quiet. Began working, using the medical equipment to treat the cub's injuries. She sealed the internal wounds with a biogel and carefully wrapped the broken ribs. The cub didn't wake, but its breathing became steadier. "It's female," said after a while, checking the medical scan results. "And young, maybe equivalent to a human 5 or 6-year-old. Nodded. "Does she have a name? Can you tell from the pod?" "The pod's data core is damaged. No identification." "Then we'll need to call her something." Thought for a moment, looking at the small creature. "We'll call her." Sighed deeply. "You're nomming it now, Captain, with respect, that makes it harder to." "Her," corrected. "Not it, her. And yes, I'm nomming her, because she's going to be with us until she's well enough to be returned safely, not before." And exchanged glances. They both knew that tone in their captain's voice. Once made a decision with that tone, there was no changing his mind. "I'll monitor her through the night," said quietly. "The treatment should help. In a few days she might wake up." Stood by the medical bed for a long time after the others left, watching sleep. Through the small window, stars moved slowly past. Somewhere out there, ships might already be searching. Somewhere out there, consequences were waiting. But right now, in this moment, a child was safe and healing. That had to be enough. 3 days passed before opened her eyes. Was sitting in the med bay when it happened, reading through supply reports on his tablet. He had been spending most of his free time there, checking on the cub between his duties on the bridge. Had noticed but said nothing. Had made a few comments about getting attached, but even he had started bringing small portions of food to test what might be able to eat. The movement was small, just a twitch of her ear. Then her eyes opened slowly, revealing bright amber pupils that caught the light. She stared at the ceiling for a moment, confused. Then her head turned and she saw. She went completely still. Her eyes locked onto him, wide with fear. "Hey," said softly, not moving from his chair. "It's okay, you're safe." His lips pulled back, showing small sharp teeth. A low sound came from her throat, not quite a growl but close. Her claws extended slightly. "I know you're scared," continued, keeping his voice calm and gentle. "You were hurt. We found you in space and brought you here to help. Nobody's going to hurt you." The cub didn't understand his words, but something in his tone made her pause. Her ears twitched forward, listening. The growl stopped. slowly reached to the side table and picked up a small piece of cooked meat. Had prepared it the day before, guessing at what a cub might eat. He held it out, not too close, letting see it. "Hungry?" he asked. Stared at the meat. Her nose moved, sniffing. After a long moment, she reached out with one paw and took it quickly, pulling it back to her chest. She ate it in small bites, watching the whole time. "Good," said, smiling slightly. "There's more when you want it." That first day didn't move from the medical bed. She watched the crew with suspicious eyes, especially when came to check the equipment. But she let change her bandages without fighting, and she ate the food they brought her. By the second day after waking, she was sitting up. By the third, she was exploring the med bay, moving on all fours like an animal, sniffing everything. Her ribs were healing fast, much faster than a human child would heal. "Biology is remarkable," explained to as they watched investigate a storage cabinet. "They're naturally tough, built for survival." "She's curious," observed. Had found a box of medical supplies and was trying to figure out how to open it. Her small claws scratched at the latch. "That's the interesting part," said quietly. "Most species young are curious, but cubs are supposed to be connected to their parents telepathically. The parent guides them, teaches them, controls their actions to some degree." But she trailed off. "But's parent is dead," finished. "Yes, which means she's mentally alone. According to what we know about, that should make her wild, aggressive, impossible to control. But look at her." Had given up on the box and was now looking at a reflection of herself in a metal panel. She tilted her head, confused by her own image. "She's adapting," said. "She's doing more than that," replied. "She's bonding with us, with you especially." Frowned. "What do you mean?" Watch stepped forward and called out. The cub's ear twitched, but she didn't look up. Then said her name. Immediately the cub turned and looked at him. Her tail moved slightly, not quite a wag but close. "She knows your voice," said. "She trusts you. That shouldn't be possible without a telepathic parent bond, but somehow it's happening anyway." Over the following weeks became part of the ship's daily routine. She followed everywhere, staying close to his side. At first, she moved on all fours, but gradually she started standing upright more often, imitating how the humans walked. Her intelligence was obvious. She learned quickly. Started teaching her simple things. He would point to objects and say their names. Chair, table, door. Would watch intently, her amber eyes focused. She couldn't speak human words, her throat wasn't built for it, but she began to understand them. One morning was doing his routine check on the bridge. Sat in the empty co-pilot chair beside him, watching the stars drift past. She had started sitting there every day, seeming to enjoy the view. "That's the navigation panel," explained, pointing. "It shows where we are and where we're going. These stars here," he indicated the display, "that's the route." Leaned forward, studying the screen. Her paw reached out and touched it gently. The display flickered. "Careful," said, but not harshly. "These controls are sensitive." The cub pulled her paw back quickly, looking at with what seemed like an apologetic expression. The peaceful routine broke when Admiral's face appeared on the communication screen one afternoon. He was an older man, gray-haired and stern-looking, his uniform decorated with service medals. "Captain," he said without greeting, "we need to discuss your passenger." Felt his stomach tighten. "Sir, you're carrying a cub. We've been monitoring the situation. They have made formal inquiries about missing survivors from the battle at Sector 7. They're searching for any of their kind." "The cub was injured," said carefully. "I couldn't leave her." "I understand your compassion," Admiral replied, his expression not unkind. "But this creates a difficult situation. They are demanding any survivors be returned immediately. They have laws about their young, strict laws." "What kind of laws?" The Admiral hesitated. "Cubs who lose their parent bond are considered damaged. They have facilities for them, special training centers." You mean prisons, said flatly. I mean what they call conditioning facilities. The cubs are retrained, their minds reshaped to function without the parent bond. It's not pleasant, but it's their culture, their species. We can't interfere. Looked over at who was playing with a small toy that had made for her, a ball that lit up when touched. She looked happy, content, nothing like a damaged or wild animal. She doesn't need conditioning, said. She's fine. Captain, this isn't a debate. The order comes from the top. You have 72 hours to deliver the cub to the nearest outpost. Coordinates are being sent to your ship now. The screen went dark. Had been listening from her station. What are you going to do? She asked quietly. Watched roll the ball across the floor, chasing it on all fours, her tail moving with excitement. She looked so much like any child playing, so innocent. I don't know, he admitted, but I'm not sending her to a prison. That night found on the bridge, staring out at the stars, was asleep in the captain's chair, curled up like a cat. She likes it here, said, sitting down. On the bridge, I mean. She does, agreed. I've been watching her, continued. Watching how she moves, how she learns. Her reflexes are incredible, 3 times faster than human reaction time. And she's been observing us, really observing. The way we pilot, the way we operate the systems. I've noticed. There's something else. Pulled up a data file on his tablet. This morning I ran a simulation, just a test scenario for navigation. Was watching. When a collision warning appeared, she hit the thrust control before I could even move. Saved the virtual ship. Looked at the sleeping cub. Her instincts are that good. Better than instincts. She understood what needed to be done. She's not just learning, she's thinking. Silence filled the bridge for a moment, then spoke again, his voice softer. My sister died when I was young, accident on a colony ship. Nobody helped her in time. Everyone followed regulations, did everything by the book, and she died because nobody broke the rules to save her. Turned to look at his engineer. I'm with you, said simply. Whatever you decide, I'm with you. Appeared in the doorway. She had been standing there listening. Me too, she said. We don't abandon our crew. She's not crew, said, but without conviction. Isn't she? Walked to the co-pilot chair and ran her hand gently over sleeping form. She sits in the co-pilot seat every day. She's learning our systems. She's part of this ship, part of this family. Felt something settle in his chest, a decision forming. 72 hours, he said. That's how long we have. To do what? Asked. To figure out how to protect her, replied. Because I'm not letting them take her. The ship appeared on their sensors exactly 68 hours after Admiral's warning. It was larger than the Wandering Star, built for hunting rather than cargo. Its hull was dark red, marked with symbols that's computer translated as Enforcement Division. They're hailing us, reported, her fingers dancing across her console. Her voice was tight with tension. Straightened in his captain's chair. Sat beside him in the co-pilot seat, watching the screens with alert eyes. She had started wearing a small vest that had modified for her. It had pockets and straps, making her look almost like a tiny crew member. Put them through, said. The face that appeared on the screen was alien but recognizable as larger than, with darker fur and sharp, intelligent eyes. The translator rendered her voice as female, cold and professional. Human vessel Wandering Star, this is Commander Bora of the enforcement ship Talon's Edge. You are in possession of property. Prepare to transfer the cub immediately. Property, repeated, his voice hard. She's a child, not property. Your human sentiments are not relevant, Commander Bora replied. The cub is a ward of the state. She must be returned to proper authorities for conditioning. This is our law. And what happens during this conditioning? Asked, though he already knew. That is not your concern. You have interfered in affairs long enough, human. Transfer the cub within the hour or we will take action. Glanced at. The cub was staring at the commander on the screen, her ears flat against her head. Her small claws had extended, gripping the armrest of her chair. She looked afraid. "I have a different proposal," said. He pulled up a document on his screen and transmitted it to the ship. "As of this morning, has been officially registered as a crew member of this vessel. She holds the position of co-pilot with full legal status under human maritime law. She is no longer an abandoned cub. She is part of my crew under my protection." There was silence. Commander Bora stared at her own screen, reading the document. When she looked up, her expression showed something that might have been surprise. "You have registered an untrained cub as a ship's officer," she said slowly. "This is unprecedented, absurd." "But legal," replied. "Under human law, crew members cannot be removed from a vessel without proper cause and due process. Is my co-pilot. She's under human protection now." "Human law does not supersede authority over our own kind," Commander Bora snarled. Her professional calm was cracking. "You are playing games with us. This will not be tolerated." "It's not a game," said quietly. "I'm protecting a child who deserves better than what you're offering." "You know nothing of what we offer. That cub is broken. Without the parent bond, she is incomplete, dangerous. She will become unstable, violent. The conditioning facility will save her from that fate." "She's not broken," said. He reached over and gently touched the shoulder. The cub leaned into his touch, her fear visibly decreasing. "She's healing. She's learning. She's fine. For now, perhaps, but it will not last. You cannot provide what she needs." "Maybe not," admitted. "But I can provide safety, care, and a chance to grow without being broken down and rebuilt. That's more than your facility offers." Commander Bora's eyes narrowed. "You have 1 hour, human. Transfer the cub or we will board your vessel and take her by force. This is your final warning." The screen went dark. Whistled low. "Well, that went great." "What do we do?" asked. "They outgun us completely. If they attack, our shields won't last 10 minutes. Stood up and began packing. His mind raced through possibilities. They couldn't fight a warship. They couldn't outrun it either. The wandering star was built for cargo, not speed. But he had to do something. Made a small sound, drawing his attention. She was looking at him with those amber eyes, trusting and afraid at the same time. She reached out one small paw toward him. Took her paw gently. "I won't let them take you," he promised. "We'll find a way." "Captain," said suddenly, "I have an idea. It's risky, but it might work." "Tell me." "There's an asteroid field about 2 hours from here at full burn. Dense concentration, lots of heavy rocks. A ship our size could thread through it if the pilot was good enough. But a ship their size," she shook her head, "too dangerous. They'd have to go around. So we hide in the asteroid field. More than that, we use it to get to the other side, where Admiral's fleet is conducting exercises. If we can reach human-controlled space, they'll have to back off or risk starting a diplomatic incident." Frowned. "That's a lot of ifs. If we can reach the field, if we can navigate through it, if we survive long enough to get to the other side." "Do you have a better idea?" challenged. Nobody did. "Plot the course," ordered. "Best possible speed. I need every bit of power you can squeeze out of the engines." "You've got it," replied, already moving toward the engine controls. Sat back down and looked at. "This is going to be rough," he told her. "Stay in your seat and hold on tight." The cub tilted her head, not understanding the words but reading his tone. She settled into her chair and gripped the armrests with her small claws. The wandering star turned and accelerated. Behind them, the ship immediately gave chase. "They're gaining," reported. "Their engines are more powerful." "How long until they're in weapons range?" asked. 15 minutes, maybe less." The minutes ticked by slowly. Watched the rear sensors, seeing the ship grow larger as it closed the distance. His hands were steady on the controls, but his heart was racing. sat perfectly still beside him, her eyes fixed on the forward view. She seemed to sense the danger, the tension in the air. 10 minutes to weapons range, said. How far to the asteroid field? Hour and 45 minutes. Too long. They would be caught long before reaching safety. They're charging weapons, his voice rose with alarm. Captain, they're not waiting. Evasive pattern, ordered, pulling the ship into a sharp turn. A blast of energy shot past where they had been, missing by meters. They're trying to disable us, not destroy us, called out. They want the ship intact so they can board. Another shot came. Dodged, but it was closer this time. The ship shook as the near miss disrupted their shields. Shields down to 80%, reported. Made a sound, a small, scared chirp, but she stayed in her seat, her claws digging into the armrests. His mind raced. He couldn't keep dodging forever. The ship was too fast, too powerful. They needed an advantage, something unexpected. He looked at the navigation display at the course had plotted. The asteroid field was still over an hour away, but there was something else on the sensors, a debris field from an old mining operation, much closer. Smaller than the asteroid field, but still dangerous to navigate. That debris field at bearing 045, how dense is it? She checked quickly. Dense enough to be hazardous. Regulations say to avoid it. Of course they do, muttered. Another blast rocked the ship. Plot a course straight through it, best speed. Captain, that's... I know what it is, do it. The wandering star changed course, diving toward the debris field. The ship followed without hesitation. They're not backing off, said. They're following us in. Then we make them regret it, replied. They entered the debris field at full speed. Pieces of old equipment, broken rocks, and twisted metal filled the space around them. Hands moved constantly on the controls, steering between obstacles. His training and experience guided him, but it was close, too close. A piece of metal scraped against their hull with a terrible screech. Shields at 60%, called out. Behind them the ship struggled. It was larger, less maneuverable. Commander Bora was a skilled pilot, but the bigger ship couldn't twist and turn like the wandering star could. They're taking damage, reported with satisfaction. Hit a large piece. Their forward shields are flickering. But they weren't stopping. They kept coming, determined and relentless. Saw a large cluster of debris ahead, a dangerous tangle of metal and rock. His instincts screamed at him to go around, but going around meant slowing down, and slowing down meant being caught. He started to bank left, to take the safer route. Then moved. The Cub's paw shot out and hit the thruster control, adjusting their angle. The ship twisted right instead, diving into a narrow gap in the debris that hadn't even seen. They shot through it, metal scraping on both sides, but they made it. Stared at in shock. The Cub was gripping her controls, her eyes fixed forward with intense concentration. She had seen the path. Her reflexes had moved faster than his. He breathed. The Cub glanced at him briefly, then back to the view ahead. Her message was clear, keep going. Behind them, the ship tried to follow through the same gap, but it was too large. It had to pull up at the last second, taking a longer route around the debris cluster. They're falling behind, shouted. We're gaining distance. Looked at with new understanding. Then he made a decision that surprised even himself. He said clearly, take the controls. The Cub turned to look at him, uncertain. You can do this, said. You're faster than me. Your reflexes are better. We need you. He moved his hands away from the primary controls, leaving them for. Captain, are you crazy? Yelled. Maybe he was, but had seen what could do. He trusted her. The Cub hesitated for only a moment. Then her small paws reached out and gripped the controls. Her amber eyes focused ahead with complete concentration. And she flew. Flew the ship like she had been born to do it. Her small paws moved across the controls with impossible precision. She twisted the wandering star through the debris field, finding paths that human eyes couldn't spot fast enough. Left, then down, then a tight spiral around a spinning chunk of metal. The ship responded to her touch like a living thing. Her reaction time, whispered, watching the sensor data. It's incredible. She's processing the field 3 times faster than our computer can. Sat in the secondary seat, monitoring but not interfering. His job now was to trust. Every instinct screamed at him to take back control, to protect the ship himself. But watching, seeing the focused intensity in her young face, he knew she was better at this than he could ever be. The ship was falling further behind. Commander Bora was skilled, but she was flying a warship through a debris field, like trying to thread a needle with a sword. The wandering star was smaller, nimbler, and now it had a pilot with reflexes no human could match. "We're through the debris field," reported. "Clear space ahead. The asteroid field is 40 minutes away at current speed." "They're still following," added. "They've taken damage, but they're not giving up." Leaned forward. "Can you keep going to the asteroid field?" The cub glanced at him and made a small chirping sound. Her paws stayed on the controls. She understood. She would keep flying. The minutes passed. Open space surrounded them now, stars spreading out in all directions, guided the ship with smooth, confident movements. Occasionally, she would adjust their course slightly, optimizing their path in ways hadn't taught her. She was learning as she flew. The asteroid field came into view, a massive region of spinning rocks, some as small as a person, others the size of buildings. They tumbled and collided, creating an ever-changing maze of stone. It was beautiful and deadly. "They're gaining again," said. "In open space, their speed advantage is showing." "Distance?" asked. "They'll be in weapons range in 5 minutes. We'll reach the asteroid field in 4. "Too close, but maybe close enough." Commander Bora's face appeared on the communication screen again. Her fur looked ruffled, her expression angry. "Enough of this chase, human. You cannot escape. Surrender the cub now and we will show mercy. Continue this foolishness and we will disable your ship and take her by force." "No," said simply. "You are risking your crew for one cub. Is that logical? Is that reasonable?" "We don't abandon our crew," replied. "That's not negotiable." "She is not your crew, she is." "She's my co-pilot," said, looking at with pride. "And she's doing a damn good job." Commander Bora's eyes widened as she seemed to notice for the first time that was actually flying the ship. Her expression shifted to something like shock. "You let a cub control your vessel. An untrained, unbonded cub. You are more foolish than I thought." "She's doing better than I could," said honestly. "Watch." They entered the asteroid field. Her performance in the debris field had been impressive. Her performance in the asteroid field was breathtaking. The rocks came at them from all directions, spinning, colliding, unpredictable. A human pilot would have needed to slow down to navigate carefully, accelerated. She dove between 2 asteroids that were closing together, passing through the gap with centimeters to spare. She rolled the ship to avoid a collision, then twisted upward as a massive rock tumbled past below them. Her movements were fluid, instinctive, perfect. "Shields holding," reported, his voice filled with awe. "Minor impacts only. She's threading the needle." The ship entered the asteroid field behind them, but immediately had to slow down. Commander Bora tried to follow's path, but the larger ship couldn't match the tight maneuvers. An asteroid clipped their side, and warning lights flashed on their hull. "They're taking heavy damage," said. "They're falling back, they can't keep up." Allowed himself a small smile. They might actually make it. Then the proximity alarm screamed. "Asteroid cluster ahead," shouted. "Dense concentration, it's too thick, there's no way through." Saw it on the screen, a wall of tumbling rocks, packed so tightly that even skills couldn't find a path. Going through would be suicide. Going around would mean slowing down and the ship would catch them. "Pull up," ordered. We need to go around. But didn't pull up. Her eyes were fixed forward, studying the cluster. Her small face showed intense concentration. That's an order, pull up now. The cub made a sharp chirping sound, negative, refusing. Her paws adjusted the controls, angling them toward the cluster. Captain yelled. His hand moved toward the emergency override, ready to take back control. But something stopped him. He looked at its face, at the absolute certainty he saw there. She saw something he didn't. She knew something he couldn't understand. He pulled his hand back. Full power to forward shields, he ordered instead. He started. Do it. Redirected power. The forward shield strengthened just as dove into the asteroid cluster. Chaos surrounded them. Rocks filled every screen, every sensor. The ship shook with impacts as smaller asteroids bounced off their shields. Warning lights flashed. The computer screamed alerts, but flew through it all. She found gaps couldn't see. She predicted movements before they happened. Her small paws moved so fast they blurred. The ship twisted and turned and spun, dancing through the deadly maze. Shields at 40%, called out. 30%. 20. An asteroid the size of a house spun directly toward them. Rolled the ship, going vertical, passing so close to the rock that they could see the ice crystals on its surface. Then they were through, breaking out the other side of the cluster into clear space. Everyone on the bridge was breathing hard, felt his heart pounding. Made a small, satisfied sound. She had known, she had seen the path. The ship didn't follow, reported, checking her sensors. They stopped at the cluster, they're turning back. They had done it, they had escaped. But their victory was short-lived. Captain said, her voice worried. We took heavy damage passing through, multiple hull breaches, life support is failing. How long do we have? Asked. Hours maybe. I'm sealing the breaches now, but it's bad. Checked his engineering readouts. The engines are damaged too. We can't maintain this speed. We're slowing down. Pulled up the navigation. Where's Admiral's fleet? 4 hours away, said. We'll run out of air before they reach us. The celebration died. They had escaped but they might not survive long enough for it to matter. Emergency signal, ordered. Broadcast on all frequencies. Tell them we need immediate assistance. Sent the signal and waited. Silence answered them. Nobody's close enough, she said quietly. We're too far from regular shipping lanes. Looked around at his crew. Was checking emergency protocols. Was monitoring life support, watching the oxygen levels drop slowly. And sat in the co-pilot chair, still gripping the controls, looking at him with worried eyes. I'm sorry, said softly to the cub. I promised to keep you safe and now. Reached out and touched his hand with her small paw. The gesture was clear. She didn't blame him. She was grateful for what he had tried to do. Captain said suddenly, "It's telepathic signal. It's still broadcasting, right?" Yes, the distress call. Why? What if we amplified it? Said quickly. What if we used the ship's communication array to boost her signal, make it stronger? To what purpose? To call more here? Maybe, admitted. Or maybe to call the right. Think about it. Signal isn't just distress anymore. It carries her emotions, her bond with us. What if other could sense that? What if they could understand what she's become? Looked up. It's a long shot. They might just come to finish the job, or they might not come at all. But it's a shot, said. He looked at. What do you think, co-pilot? Should we try? The cub chirped once firmly. Yes. Then we try, decided. Set it up. Amplify her signal as much as you can. Worked quickly, connecting the communication array to the medical sensors that had been monitoring telepathic emissions. It took precious minutes, but finally she nodded. Ready. Said gently, we need you to send out a call, not just distress. Send them everything, what you've learned, what you've experienced, how you feel about us. Send them the truth. The cub closed her eyes, her small face scrunched up in concentration. and she broadcast. The signal went out, amplified by the ship systems spreading across space. It carried fear and pain, yes, but also other things: curiosity, learning, joy at discovery, trust in her crew, love for the captain who had protected her. It was the signal of a cub who had found a new kind of family. "Now we wait," said. The oxygen levels continued to drop. The crew sat together on the bridge, conserving energy, hopping for a miracle. Curled up in his lap, tired from her efforts, he stroked her soft fur gently, watching the stars through the viewport. "You did good," he told her. "Whatever happens, you did so good." The cub purred softly, a sound of contentment despite the danger they faced. And somewhere in the darkness of space, someone heard her call. The oxygen level dropped to 40%, then 30%. The crew of the wandering star sat quietly on the bridge, breathing slowly to conserve air. No one spoke about what would happen when the oxygen ran out. They all knew. Held close, the cub had fallen asleep in his arms, exhausted from her telepathic broadcast and the intense flying through the asteroid field. Even in sleep, she looked peaceful, trusting. She had given everything she had to help them. Was slumped in his chair, eyes closed. Monitored the sensors with fading hope, watching for any sign of rescue. "Oxygen at 25%, she reported quietly. "We have maybe an hour left." Nodded, he had already made peace with it. They had done their best. They had protected as long as they could. If this was the end, at least they would end it together. Then the sensors beeped. "Ships approaching," said, sitting up suddenly. "Multiple contacts, they're moving fast." Asked, his voice hoarse. "Yes, 4 ships, no 6, wait." Eyes widened as she studied her screen. 8 ships total, all they're surrounding us. Felt his heart sink. They had come to take after all, perhaps to punish the crew for defying them. "Wake," he said softly. "She should be awake for this." The cub stirred in his arms, blinking her amber eyes open. She looked up at him, sensing his sadness. "It's okay," whispered. "We tried." One of the ships hailed them. Accepted the call, expecting to see Commander Bora's angry face. Instead, a different appeared on screen, older, with white-streaked fur and kind eyes. "Human vessel wandering star," they said. The translator rendered her voice as female, but with a gentler tone than Commander Bora's had been. "I am captain of the Morning Dawn. We received a telepathic broadcast from a cub, a most unusual broadcast." Straightened slightly. Yes, that was, she was calling for help. Indeed, but her call carried more than distress. It carried something we have not sensed in many years, a bond. Not a parent bond, but something different, something new. Captain paused. "May I see the cub?" Lifted so the camera could see her. The cub looked at the screen with curious eyes. Captain's expression softened dramatically. "Hello, little one," she said in her own language, chirped in response, recognizing her native tongue. "She understands you," said. "Of course she is," Captain looked back at, "but she is also something else now, isn't she? The bond signature we detected. It was unlike anything in our records. She has bonded with you, with humans. We did not know this was possible." Another face appeared on screen beside Captain, an even older with silver fur and ceremonial markings on her face. "I am Counselor," she said. "I serve on the High Council. I must see this cub in person. I must understand what has happened here." "Our life support is failing," said bluntly. "We don't have much time." "Then we will bring you aboard," Counselor replied. "Prepare for docking." Within minutes, the wandering star was connected to the Morning Dawn by a docking tube. The crew put on emergency masks as their oxygen levels dropped critical, then moved through the tube into the ship. The air on the other side was different, warmer, with a strange but not unpleasant smell. Crew members stared at them as they walked through the corridors. None of them had seen humans before. They were brought to a large chamber. Counselor waited there along with several other officials. Captain stood nearby, watching with interest. Set down gently. The cub stood on her own, looking around at with uncertainty. These were her own people, but they felt like strangers to her now. Counselor approached slowly and knelt down to be at level. She spoke in the language, gentle words that the translator didn't fully capture, responded with small chirps and movements. She tells me of her journey, Counselor said, looking up at the pain of losing her parent, the fear in the pod, the human who found her and brought her to safety. The counselor's eyes were bright with emotion. She tells me of learning to trust again, of sitting in the pilot's chair, of flying the ship through danger. She tells me of belonging. She belongs with us, said firmly. She's my co-pilot, my crew. Yes, I can sense that. Counselor stood slowly. What you have done should not be possible, Captain. A cub without a parent bond should become wild, unstable. That is what we have believed for generations. That is why we created the conditioning facilities, to force stability onto broken cubs. She's not broken, said. No, the counselor agreed. She is not. And that is what troubles me, or rather, what teaches me. We have been wrong, Captain, wrong for a very long time. Another official stepped forward, his fur bristling. Counselor, surely you do not suggest. I suggest that we have been too rigid in our thinking, Counselor interrupted. We believe that only a parent could properly bond with a cub, but here stands proof that there are other ways. This human showed kindness to an injured child. He protected her. He taught her. And she bonded with him as surely as if he were. The law states that cubs must be returned to custody, the official insisted. The law was written to protect cubs, Counselor replied. But how is taking this cub from her chosen family protecting her? Look at her. She is healthy. She is learning. She is happy. What would our conditioning facility give her that she does not already have? Silence filled the chamber. The other officials looked at each other, uncomfortable with the question. Commander Bora's voice suddenly spoke from a communication panel. Counselor, I must protest. I pursued that vessel for hours. The human direct orders. He endangered his crew for a single cub. This cannot be allowed to. Commander Bora, Counselor said quietly. Did you review the sensor logs? Did you see how the cub flew through the asteroid field? A pause. Yes, Counselor, her piloting was exceptional. More than exceptional. She displayed skills that our trained pilots would struggle to match. And she did this without formal training, without parent guidance, simply by observing and learning from her human crew. Does this sound like a broken, unstable cub to you? Another pause. No, Counselor, it does not. Then perhaps we should reconsider our assumptions. Counselor turned back to, Captain, I have a proposal. Will remain with you as your co-pilot. She will be under your care and protection. But she will also maintain ties to the people. She will be registered in our records not as a conditioned cub, but as an ambassador, the first of her kind, a bridge between our species. Felt hope rise in his chest. She can stay with us. If that is what she chooses, yes. Counselor knelt down again and spoke to in their language, offering her a choice. The cub listened carefully, then looked up at. She chirped once, a clear, definite sound, and walked over to stand beside him, pressing against his leg. Her choice was obvious. Counselor smiled sadly. She has chosen you, Captain. I confess, this hurts my heart a little. She is one of ours, and yet she finds her home with aliens. But denying her choice would hurt more. She deserves to be where she is loved and valued. I don't understand, one of the other officials said. Why would a human risk so much for a cub? What does he gain? Looked down at, remembering the moment he first found her, small, hurt, alone. I don't gain anything, he said simply. She needed help. That's all that mattered. She's a child. You don't abandon children no matter what species they are. The official stared at him as if he had spoken in an alien language, but Counselor nodded slowly. You have taught us something today, Captain. You have shown us that sometimes the most logical action is also the most compassionate one. That true strength lies not in following rigid laws, but in protecting those who cannot protect themselves. She gestured to the other officials. I will bring this matter to the High Council. We will review our policies regarding orphaned cubs. Perhaps there are others who could benefit from different paths, from new kinds of families. And the conditioning facilities, asked, will be investigated. If they cause more harm than good, as I now suspect they do, they will be reformed or closed. Counselor looked at with warmth. Your cub will not be the last to be given a real choice about her future. Over the next few hours, the crew worked to repair the wandering star. They fixed the hull breaches, restored life support, and even upgraded some of the damaged systems. Captain personally oversaw the repairs, ensuring everything was done properly. Consider it a gift, she told as they watched the work, for showing us a better way. When the repairs were complete and his crew prepared to leave, walked between them, her small vest still strapped on, looking every bit like a member of the crew. Counselor came to see them off. She knelt one last time and spoke to words that the translator rendered as, "Fly well, little one, make us proud." Chirped back, then pressed her head against the counselor's hand, a gesture of affection and farewell. The crew boarded their ship. As they settled into their stations, Admiral's face appeared on the communication screen. He looked surprised to see them alive. Captain, he said, we received word from the fleet. They say you're free to go. They've even granted official status as a diplomatic liaison between our species. I don't know how you managed that. I didn't manage anything, sir, replied. I just did what was right. Admiral studied him for a long moment. The High Council has also sent a message to human leadership. They want to discuss new treaties, cultural exchanges, joint training programs. They say they want to learn from our approach to compassion, I think they called it. That's good, sir. It is. You've done something remarkable, Captain. You've changed how an entire species views itself. You've potentially changed the future of human relations. And you did it by refusing to abandon one small cub. She's not just a cub, sir, said, looking at who was already climbing into her co-pilot chair. She's my co-pilot. Admiral smiled. So I've heard. Safe travels, Captain, and take care of your crew, all of them. The communication ended. Sat down in the captain's chair. Sat beside him, her small paws resting on the controls, and were at their stations, smiling. Where to, Captain? Asked. Thought about it. We have a cargo run to finish. Those colonies are still waiting for their supplies. Business as usual then, said. Is anything usual anymore? Replied, gesturing to, we have a co-pilot. We've got half the galaxy talking about us. Nothing is usual anymore. And prompted. Smiled, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Chirped happily and activated the engines. The wandering star turned away from the fleet and jumped to hyperspace, a small human cargo vessel with the most unlikely crew, heading into a future that suddenly seemed brighter than before. On the bridge, watched work the controls with confidence. She had grown so much in such a short time, from a terrified, injured cub to a skilled pilot, from alone and broken to part of a family. You know what the funny thing is, said, breaking the comfortable silence. They told you to eject the cub because she was dangerous. They did, agreed. But you kept her, made her your co-pilot. I did. And now she's the reason we're all alive. The reason humans and might actually become allies instead of just tolerating each other. The reason everything changed. Reached over and gently scratched Behind's ears. The cub leaned into the touch, purring softly while still keeping her eyes on the navigation display. She was never the dangerous one, said quietly. Fear was the dangerous thing. Fear of what was different, fear of taking a risk, fear of caring when everyone says you shouldn't. And you weren't afraid? Asked. Thought about it. I was terrified, every minute of it, but I was more afraid of what I'd become if I turned away, if I let fear make me cruel. He looked around at his crew we are stronger together. Different species, different abilities, different ways of thinking. but together we're stronger. Chirped in agreement, her paws steady on the controls as she guided them through the stars. The wandering star flew onward, carrying its unusual crew into the unknown, proving that sometimes the most human thing you can do is to care when everyone else tells you not to. And somewhere in space, in conditioning facilities that had operated for generations, officials began asking difficult questions about their own practices, inspired by the story of one small cub and the human who refused to give up on her. Change had begun, one act of compassion at a time,